This is the EWN Podcast Network.
Ever wondered how you could turn your side hustle into a full-time gig and spend more time together?
Hi, I'm Vicki, a #1 best-selling author.
And I'm John, a retired Los Angeles police officer. Welcome to Dig the Well, where we help couples navigate the world of business.
We've been married for 35 years, and because we built a successful side business, John retired 9 years earlier than he originally planned from the Los Angeles Police Department after 25 years on the job. Now we spend more time together, and we want to help couples like you do the same.
Join us as we help you overcome common obstacles, and we show you how to make extra income without sacrificing family time.
Ready to dig deep and build your well? Let's get started. Hello, hello, hello.
Howdy.
Welcome back. Howdy. It is twilight here when we're recording this, and so we might look a little different, and that's okay. And I'm fancy. Can you see y'all watching on YouTube or Rumble? I got my fancy little collar on, but I look nice with John's shirt. It's a good combination.
Yeah, I'm not fancy.
I like that shirt. I always have. Yeah. I don't know, this is an odd topic, but do you ever have a favorite shirt that you look good in or feel good in? Not look good in, but feel good when you put it on?
Yeah, it's this one.
Yeah. I know. I was hoping you were going to say that. And this is this one. I always feel fancy when I put it on.
I feel fancy when I wear this one. I feel very twinkly, very sparkly.
Well, awesome. Welcome back. This is a podcast about entrepreneurship. We will be talking about that, not just clothes.
Yeah, we definitely won't be talking about clothes.
And so we have a really great topic for today. Do you want to tell everybody what that is?
It's having an entrepreneur's mindset. That's the one thing that we've noticed, that a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs, and maybe they deep down inside they do, and maybe they think that they are, but they really don't have the mindset for it. And it really starts, I think, with your mindset, because that kind of drives what you do and how you do it. And it's a lot about how you do things, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And we could jump right in. We were coaching a woman and on her business, right? And we were a bit shocked at how much she's doing with her business, trading hours for dollars, treating it like an employee mindset versus an entrepreneur mindset.
Yeah, and she's actually really good with stuff. She has a lot of irons in the fire. She has a lot of little businesses that she does, and which is great, right? Because we talk about multiple streams of income. So she definitely has that going on. But how she goes about it is, I think what she's missing is that mindset, that entrepreneur's mindset.
Yeah.
And so she's missing really great opportunities in some of her other businesses that she could really pounce on, that would actually, in the long term, pay her better. It would be so much better for her if she could see that, but she doesn't, because she seems to be stuck in the, like, if I do this, I get money in my pocket. I'm getting paid on it right away. But the problem is that particular business that she was talking about doesn't have any sort of residual income or any sort of passive income involved with it.
Right.
So sure, it may be somewhat lucrative, and maybe the hours she trades, she gets paid a decent amount of money, but she has to redo that work every single time she wants to get paid. Right. So, and it was really difficult getting that across, where if she focused on some of her other, businesses and some of the other opportunities that she has in front of her, that it would set up, sure, it would take a little bit of work. And the initial hours that you put into that, you're not going to get paid the same as the one that she's trading the hours for dollars for. But that's the wrong mindset. Right. And that's what we're trying to say, is just invest the time and the effort in these other businesses that represent some sort of residual income, and you'll be far better off, 3, 4, 5 years from now.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it. She has a product. Let's just get into the gory details.
Well, let's not get it.
I'm not going to say what her product
Okay,
is.
yeah.
But she has a product, and she goes,
And it's really, which one? The one that there's one product I
the
love.
main one that we bought from her.
Yeah, that's
that you've
awesome.
had. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's actually a consumable item, which is smart, right? We have talked about that. That's what we believe is the smartest thing you could ever do in a passive income, is have something that people want, they purchase, they use up in a short period of time, a month or less, and then they repurchase month after month after month. That's a great book of business, and you're not recreating the sale. People love what it is, whether it's skincare, whether it's wellness, whether it's a food item, whether it's supplement. But it's consumable, and so they need more of it, and you don't have to recreate the sale after you made that initial sale. And so she has something that she's trading in hours for dollars for. Like she said, I'm going to a place, and she'll spend a good 8 hours of her day. And she said, I can sell $900 of whatever it is. And then she was happy with that. Right. And that's where John, started educating her about all the other, because she, like John said, she has other.
So next week, if she wants the $900, she's got to go back out and do repeat all that work.
Right.
Again.
And sell that product again and again. And there's a need in the marketplace. There's a desire. There's all of that. But I was sitting here thinking just now, as you were kicking off the podcast with it, is that she could hire a teenager to do what she's doing. Even she could hire somebody to go do what she's doing, spend those 8 hours, pay them, whatever hourly, and take her time and do something else more productive with that time, in another one of her businesses. Right.
Which brings up another point about outsourcing some of what you do.
Right.
So you have a business, whatever your business is, you can do every single thing in that business yourself and learn how to do everything, right? Every task. And you'll find that you're spending all your time doing some things that are kind of menial.
Right.
And maybe your time is better spent like just building your business, focused on your business, and then just outsource some of the other items, right?
Right.
Not everything, obviously, but some of the stuff you could certainly easily do. Like you just said, that basically what she was doing was spending the entire day doing sales.
Right.
You can hire someone to do sales.
And it's not door to door. She's in a location. So whoever she hires, she tells them what to do. Okay, it's this dollar amount. You tell them the pros, the why people want to buy it. Yeah, that's it. And that anyone could do it. A 9-year-old could do it. You've often said that. I've heard you say that about different parts of your business, that a 9-year-old could do what you're doing. So why not take your brilliance that you're great at, or maybe you're not brilliant at it yet, but you will be if you put your effort into things that are going to give more residual income over time, right? That need your attention to build, that maybe don't pay you as well at first. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of hit home with me years ago. Actually, you did. You kind of made me realize, because we have a pool, and it's not like it's rocket science, keeping the pool balanced and keeping the water clear. But it's sometimes not a lot of fun, because especially when we were traveling a lot, we would be gone for a while and we'd get back and the pool looked like a pond, right? It was just an algae-filled pond.
Yeah.
And then it was a nightmare trying to clear that out. And I would spend so many hours working on it. And then finally, Vic said to me, you could spend your time doing more productive things than working on the pool, right? There are pool guys, and they're not necessarily cheap. But what they do is they provide a really good service, right? They keep the pool water clear and clean. And it was at that point I thought, yeah, you know what? This is, I took some pride in doing our own pool, but I was spending a lot of time.
Yeah.
And I could do other things with that time. We could work on building our business, doing other things. So then we finally hired a pool guy, and he's kept this pool like it's been crystal clear since we hired him.
Yeah.
It's been great.
A gorgeous blue, right?
Right.
But you're
And
making money for us doing other things.
So your time is worth money, and you got to figure out how much money is your time worth,
right?
And then is it worth spending the time, working on the pool? Is it worth your time, like washing your own windows at home, or just hire a window washer?
Right. And then you've got just traditional business tasks that need to get done. And honestly, now, guys, if you're not doing social media, you're blowing it. You need to be on social media. It's a free advertisement for you. It's a free platform. And if you're not taking advantage of it because you're just being stubborn, you've got to get over that. This day and age, you've got to do social media. Well, guess what you could do? You can hire someone to do your social media if you really don't want to do it. There are VAs out there. There are social media experts that will do it for you. They interview you. They get to know who you are. So they're putting things out there that are like what you would put out. You just need to do it. You just need to hire somebody else to do it if you're not willing to. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't do a lot of social media, not that they're not willing to do it. They just don't understand it. They don't know how to get started.
Right. Exactly.
And if you're in that, if that's you, like, it's just kind of overwhelming. It's not something I'm comfortable with. I don't know how to do it. I don't know what's the first step. You're the exact person to just outsource that to someone else who's an expert at it.
Right.
And then the other thing too is you'll find that when you outsource to experts, sure, it costs you a little bit of money, but the return is so much better because what they're giving you, the output, is so much better than what you could have done because you're not an expert. You're trying to learn it.
Right.
And we did that. I did that for years with that brick and mortar business that we had. I was pretty much doing everything because I thought, well, I can't afford to hire anyone. If I knew then what I know now, I can't afford not to hire someone.
Right.
I can't afford not to hire experts to do the things.
Yeah. And this day and age too, there's some in other countries like the Philippines, and there's very reputable companies that you can hire them and pay them a fair wage. And yet it's way less than what you're paying somebody here in the United States to do, because I had Krista Kelly on and interviewed her a couple of weeks ago, and go listen to that episode and hear how she's a purpose-driven outsourcing company that really is all about helping others. And there's some here too. So if if you want to just hire somebody from the US, maybe you're based in the US and you feel strongly, same with Canada, Mexico, wherever you live listening to this podcast, and you want your country people to get paid for what they do, well, then hire them in your country. I'm not trying to tell you have to.
Yeah, they're out there.
Yeah, there's so many people out there looking to do, and that is their area of expertise. So yeah, and what's amazing is when you pay somebody to do your content, you still own the content. Like these videos that you see, these reels is what they're called on Instagram and Facebook. They're called shorts on YouTube. All of those that you see, our podcast, for example, we have a company we pay to edit and post the podcast for us. This podcast, Dig the Well, but they also give us the little short segments of it to promote it. But we own that. They don't own it. We own it. So years from now, if we stop using them, but we want to still promote our podcast, we can reuse and repurpose those videos. So same with what's going on with social media. It is amazing. I've been on Facebook since 2010. I know it's not John's cup of tea, just being a police officer, right? Is that the main thing for you on safety and whatnot? Not putting things out there.
Well, we're not allowed to anyhow.
Yeah. All of that. And for our family too, there were a lot of things we didn't put out there for the longest time, but I put my candle business all over social media, and I grew my business that way. And now it's just, look how much, it's 15 years later. And to me, so you can't do your business as effectively, cost effectively, especially without it. Like I'll be at a meeting talking and networking about my business, learning about other people's, but growing my business, gaining new clients, all the while the commercials, if you will, of the shorts and the posts that I've done before I left the house are still going. They're still live on social media. It's working for me, but I'm not having to work it any longer. So that's the other reason you want social media. It's like the old days advertising TV commercials.
Yeah.
It's like having your own TV commercial going all the time.
Yeah, it's working 24/7.
Yeah, for you.
And
So,
you do it once, right?
yeah,
And
exactly.
it just keeps.
So it's crazy not to do it. So yeah, we're harping on social media a lot, but that's just one area of your business that you can definitely outsource. There's a great book. If you're looking for a great book on it, it's called Who, Not How. I read it recently and it was brilliant. It was all about hiring other people. And it's just what you were saying, John. Now you wish you'd known way back in the day of Prestige and all of that, our other business, the brick and mortar business, that, gosh, you wish you'd hired somebody else to do some of the tasks that then would have freed you up to go gain more business for us. And me too.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And the whole recreating the sale kills me when somebody's just trading hours for dollars.
Yeah, it's to me, it's shocking that there are people who are entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
They own their own businesses, and they really do most of the right things, except they just really miss that one part, right? That mindset of like, no, I'm gonna focus on, they should be focusing on what is going to be long term the best for me and my family.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you right now, if you find something that has that, we've talked about it before, residual income, right? Some sort of passive income, to where the work you did last month, the month before that, the month before that, 5 years before that, still pays you.
Right.
It doesn't pay you the same, but it pays you a little bit. And if you compound that over and month after month after month, you're going to find that it's a significant amount of money. And if you think about the most wealthiest people, they've tapped into that, right? So if you look, even if you look at like actors, they get paid like a ridiculous amount of money to pretend to be somebody or something else, right?
Right.
Like I always joke about it. They say that the number one TV and what's number one in TV and movies is mostly police shows, doctors and police shows.
Yeah, that's right.
So here are all these actors pretending to be me. But, right?
That's funny.
They're not, but they pretend to be. They do like a movie. They do it once, and yet they get paid every time that thing is aired, every time it's shown, every time every movie theater is played in. They get a residual on that, and they're making crazy amounts of money, basically doing their job one time. And they just get paid over and over and over again.
Right.
Even professional athletes, they get paid on endorsements every time a commercial runs. Every time, sometimes they get a percentage of the product that's sold that they're endorsing, and they just keep getting checks in the mail because they've tapped into that residual income. And I think those are probably the wealthiest people, that other than like some really crazy business person,
right?
But most of the really wealthy people, I think I think most people would agree, would be professional athletes and actors.
Right.
And that's all residual income. They don't go out and do a movie every day.
Right. Exactly. Right.
They just do a movie
once.
Right.
Yeah. And they get paid over and over and over. Yeah. So, I know our son, we've talked about this. He's an Audible narrator, and he's smart. He knows residual income.
Yeah. The very first book deal that he did. And I think it was just because he was raised by us, right?
Right.
Because he was telling us about it. He goes, "Hey, I'm doing Audible." I'm like, "Oh, great." And I said, "How does that work?" And he was telling me, "Well, because I've got this deal from this author. He wrote this book, and so I'm going to go ahead and narrate it." And so I asked him, I go, "Well, how is it that you get paid? How does that work?" And he said, "Well, there's two models. One is you get paid hourly. So you have like, they anticipate how many hours it's going to take for you to do this book, and then you get paid for those hours." Right. And it's a decent amount of money. It's not bad. He said, or you can do basically what is it called? It's almost like a profit share kind of a.
Oh shoot!
There's a term for it. I don't even remember.
Yeah.
but anyways, he doesn't get paid any money up front. So there's an investment, right? So to spend all these hours narrating this book, but he gets a share of the books that are sold.
Basically residual. Right?
Yeah. Every time Audible sells, somebody downloads that book on Audible or on Amazon or whatever platform, he gets a little bit. He actually splits it with the author.
Right.
The author gets half, he gets half. And that goes on in perpetuity.
Right.
So as long as that thing's sold, he gets money.
Right.
And sure, like most people would say, no, I'd take the money in my pocket. I just get the hourly pay, do it, and move on to the next. Well, then you're done. You're paid once and you're done. You're never going to get another penny on that.
Dollars. Yeah.
And an entrepreneur's mindset would have been like, no, I don't want to accept that. I'll take the profit share portion of it. And sure, it's a big investment for me, for my time and effort to do this. And at first, the first week, yeah, I'll get a little bit of money, but it still doesn't compensate me for all the time I put into it.
Right.
But then a week after, you get more money. Then the next week, you get more. Then pretty soon, okay, it's already paid me. From that point on, it's extra money, and it's just gravy, and it just keeps coming in. And he's done, how many books has he done now?
40. We found out over 40 books he's narrated. Yeah. So, and he's not stopping anytime soon. It fits his schedule, his weightlifting. He's going to nationals. He qualified to go to nationals this year. Again, it qualifies a lot. And it works into his schedule, his lifting schedule. So, yeah.
But yeah, it's really cool that he did that. He didn't ask, hey, what do you think I should do?
Right.
He just knew.
He worked in
because he's been
the contract.
Been around us long enough.
Yeah.
So you can see Vicky's hair is flying all around. We didn't get like a fog machine and a big fan for the effect. It's just it's really hot.
Yeah, it's hot today.
Yeah, and where we're doing this, we didn't have the air on in the house today. We probably should put the air on earlier.
Yeah.
So then we just put a fan on. So my lips are getting chapped.
Are they right now?
Yeah. The fan's right here next to me.
Yeah. So we look like we're blowing in the wind, like we're on location, like we've been when we were in Tulum. And actually, we're flying out of town again. And I thought about bringing, the equipment with us, but we don't have a lot of time on this trip to do that. So that's why we're coming to you live, looking like it's breezy inside our house. Yeah. So, but that does kill us, same with, let's talk about John Lyft and Uber and those guys, because a lot of times with our business, we're franchising people, our current business, Neora, we're franchising people into their own business, because that's basically what it is without the normal trappings of a traditional franchise. And we won't get into all of that, contact us if you're curious about Neora. But a lot of times we're talking to Lyft and Uber drivers, and they don't have the residual component at all. They are totally trading hours for dollars, right?
Yeah.
And that is also, yet they have that entrepreneur mindset, or they wouldn't be driving for Lyft and Uber, sort of. Some of them may have stumbled on it just to make some money right now, but a lot of them are keeping that as their full-time gig.
Yeah, I'm amazed, because when we first started, because we use Lyft and Uber, mostly Lyft, but we use those quite a bit when we travel. And because it's easier than renting a car. And when that first started, it was really affordable. Now,
Right.
I don't know. It's actually, especially in California, because, well,
we won't get into that.
Yeah. But at any rate,
it costs a lot more to Lyft here.
Yeah. When we first started taking those rides, we would just end up in conversations with these drivers, because you're just bored to death sitting in the back of someone's Honda Accord, right? And then, or it's usually a Prius. And then, so we would talk to them and find out, and the question was, a lot of times was, so what do you do for a real job? Like, what do you do for your normal job, or your main job? Because usually the ride share was something extra, right? It wasn't their main gig. It was just a side gig, like for another stream of income. Great. You already have the car.
Right.
So why not, I guess? Except just you're burning out cars. I mean, I don't understand. To me, it seems like it doesn't pay for what they make, because some of them have been very honest about what they make.
Right.
I'm thinking, you've got to be driving all day long to make this profitable. But then if you do that, you're tearing up your car, right? You're putting a ton of miles on it. You're having to do a lot of maintenance on it. You're going through tires and brakes and everything else. And if your insurance tracks miles, which a lot of insurance companies do, your insurance is going to go up. And I talked to my insurance agent, and she said, actually, you can't even do that with insurance. That we don't cover you to run for someone that does a rideshare business. It's not actually, it's different. So anyways, the point is, though, that when we first talked to everyone, the rideshare thing was a side gig, a side hustle, every single one of them.
Right.
Now, almost every one of them, it's their full-time job. That's all they do all day long is drive.
Right. And so John will strike up a conversation and kind of have some fun with them to get them thinking. He's not, doing it to piss anybody off.
Yeah, I'm not putting them down.
Yeah, right. We're proud, or not proud of that, but we don't know them, but we think it's great that they're out there working. They're not standing on a street corner with a handout. They're actually working.
They're not on welfare. They're working. They're trying to do something. And the other thing too is how many countries allow something like that?
Right.
Where a private citizen can take their private car and basically become a taxi.
Yeah. A lot of countries don't allow it.
Wouldn't allow it, yeah.
It's great that we have that. But John will ask questions talking about residual income, kind of knowing the answer that he knows they're not getting a piece of each ride paid to them over time for every ride that they do. But you kind of pose it in such.
Well, I just asked him. I said, "Wouldn't it be great, like whatever you make on this ride? Like if you make $25 on this ride, wouldn't it be great if next month you got like even 1% of that?" Just 1%.
And at first they're like, no, right? They don't get it. They don't get where you're going with it.
Because we talk about residual income and they don't really understand the concept. I said, well, residual income is the work you did. When you've done it, it just continues to pay you over and over and over again, right? So you get upfront, you get a decent amount of money, but then after that, you're getting something else a little bit every month.
Right.
And it's not like you're not getting $25 every month for this ride that you gave us in January. February, it's not going to pay you $25. But what if it paid you just 1%?
Right.
Right. And then big deal. That's not going to change anything, right? It's not going to move the needle. But if it's every ride that you did in January, then in February, you got a 1% residual on that.
Right. Wouldn't that be sweet?
Would slightly move the needle. But then in February, you're going to continue doing your work. And then so when it comes March, you're going to get 1% of all the rides in February, and you're still going to get your 1% of all the rides you did in January. Right. So now that's your residual basically doubled.
Yeah.
And then in March, it goes up again. So you're still doing the same amount of work, but you just have that residual income coming in. So it can get to the point where you have so much of it, you can actually scale back the effort you're putting in.
Right.
Because there'll come a time when the residual check will actually outpace what your work
check
would be, right?
Mm-hmm, totally.
And that's what happened. That's happened with us.
Right.
Absolutely. Because when we first got started, we were paid on the work we did. And then monthly, we would be paid a residual.
Right.
Based on previous month's work.
Right.
And at first, the residual was a joke, right? You look at that first residual check and you think,
it was like $26.
Gosh.
That's all it was, John.
Yeah, right.
And our anniversary, by the way, with the company was yesterday. Yeah. And we've been with the company 13 years, but our first residual check was $26. A lot of people will think, oh, this isn't working.
Yeah.
But we knew it was.
I actually had guys at work because I would share with them and they're like, you're an idiot. Why would you do that for $26? That was for all month. I said, no, we got paid on what we did every week, but that monthly check was based just on a residual, and it was only $26. They were like, still, big deal, $26. That's nothing for a residual. But then that residual grew, and it grew, and it grew. And pretty soon it outpaced what we were making on our weekly checks.
Right.
And it wasn't by a little bit. It was by a significant amount of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So people are missing that. They're really, and so finally, when you kind of get through to the Uber drivers or Lyft drivers, they're like, can you send me some information on that?
Yeah. Because I said, you're just going to, if you want to make money in what you're doing, you have to do this every day.
Yeah.
And then next week, if you want to make money again, you got to get out and do this same thing again all day long.
What if you get sick? What if your car breaks down and it's longer than a day to fix it? You're screwed. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you just keep making money.
Yeah, who's getting rich? The owner of there's a great, I think there was on Netflix about Uber. Right.
I don't know if
it's an interesting. I think it's on Netflix. It's an interesting expose on Uber, how it got started, and they made an insane amount of money, because if you think about it, they started the platform they didn't have to do much work after that. And it was all just basically passive income.
Right.
People were downloading the app, becoming drivers, and then they got a big cut of every ride that these other people were out doing all the work, driving people around, but they were having to give up a big portion of that in fees.
Right. Right. So, yeah. So I'm really hoping we've opened your eyes to not having an employee mindset with your entrepreneur business, right? So many people do. I don't know if in this country we're raised, we talk about this a lot, but raised to get good grades, to get a good job eventually. And so when people become entrepreneurs, they just still have that mindset that they've got to work so hard and do all these hours and no one else can do what they do, or they can't afford to pay somebody else to do the menial tasks. I just don't get it. Yeah, until you bring it to. Do you think it hit home for her after our coaching session?
Yeah, because one of the things that she brought up was, she said, because we were talking about the opportunity she has with this new product that we're launching, right? And it's still almost in like pre-launch. It's not fully launched anyhow, and they don't really have a huge inventory of the product. The product sells out because it's so popular and it's in such demand. It keeps selling out,
and there's no competition.
Yeah, and what I was trying to get across was, and it was actually not. There were other people too, but what I always try and get across to them is, we sit in a really unique spot right now because we have a product that has a massive amount of demand and a massive appeal to a lot of people, right? And we have no competition. Right. We own 100% of the market unless they want to go with an injectable. And most people don't want to stick needles in their faces, right? So this is a non-injectable. And it's safe, it's plant-based, non-toxic. So we're the only ones in the space. But this window of opportunity won't last forever. There will be copycats. There will be people, even though it's patented, there will be people that will try and knock this off, right?
A good one. Yeah.
It'll be on Amazon because let's face it, most of what's on Amazon are cheap Chinese knockoffs. So it's going to happen. And when it happens, then we're going to have to fight with that. Yeah. Right now, we don't have to fight with any of it. So anyways, we're constantly selling out of the product. And she made a comment, well,
I had people to buy it, right?
Yeah, but I want to wait until... she wanted to wait until there was enough product, enough supply to meet the demand. And I said, well, you're missing the whole point. You're missing the boat here, because if you think about what turned the automotive industry on its ear recently, right? The automotive industry has kind of been set. It's the same three big manufacturers in the U.S. You have other manufacturers around the world. They all build cars the same. They all market their cars in the same way, right? And it's kind of an old traditional way of building and selling cars. There was one manufacturer that kind of changed that, and it's Tesla. Whether you like Tesla or not, it doesn't matter. You just look at the business model and what Elon Musk did. Every model of Tesla that's been sold, he hyped it up and pre-sold it years before it was available.
The Cybertruck.
Cybertruck, the Model 3. Look at the craziest one of all was the Model 3, right? It wasn't available for years, but people were buying them. They were paying, I saw on eBay, people were spending between $3,000 and $10,000 just to buy someone's reservation.
Wow.
All they get was just a reservation. And Tesla said that's not going to work because whoever the reservation was for, they're the only ones who can order the car.
Right.
So, but anyways, there was all this hype around it. And he became Elon Musk became the richest man in the world.
Yeah.
So why do you want to wait?
Yeah, it didn't make sense when she was like, well, I'll wait till there's no chance of running out of inventory. And we are fully stocked now. There was a small amount, but I said, I capitalized on that. The fact that we were out, we had sold through 5 months of inventory in 5 days. That proved the demand of it. So why wouldn't you be excited about that?
I know.
And the company did make a way for you to get one filler still. Like, they were smart. I thought that was one of the smartest things they ever did. So it wasn't completely out. They just knew they were getting low. But she didn't even capitalize on that. She stopped sharing. She would stop talking about it. Yeah, which really was kind of the dumbest thing you could do.
But I think it was just a mindset thing.
Right. So it was a mindset. She's not dumb. She's not dumb.
Not at all.
But
No,
John
not
was
at all.
trying to get
Right.
that. Yeah, she was smart to jump on this opportunity, to seize
Right.
the opportunity like she did.
Right. But I just wanted her
Yeah.
to step out of her the little box that she's in mindset, and think more like an entrepreneur and look at
Yeah.
opportunities and then capitalize on those opportunities. Right.
Right.
And one of the things I think that's most important about an entrepreneur is they need to make decisions quickly.
Yeah.
Be very decisive. It's
And
either
don't
yes
look
or no.
back. Yeah.
Right. It's like I want the baby, not the labor pains. So it's like if you see something and it's a you think it looks like a good opportunity, then it probably is. Right. Trust your instincts.
Right.
And run with it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Right.
So what?
Exactly.
Move on to the next.
And now she said, I asked her, hey, did John's talk, especially, I was listening, but I was also talking with a couple other people. And I asked her if how was John's talk kind of eye-opening for you? And she said, absolutely. His analogy, and I know that about John, you're so good with analogies. Your analogy with Tesla, about Tesla, made total sense to her. So now she's got a total different mindset, which is great.
Good. I hope
it is
it
really
was a little breakthrough.
Yeah.
Because she has huge potential.
Yeah.
Because she's very smart and she's very inventive, right? She has great ideas.
Yeah. She was even auditioned for Shark Tank with one of her ideas.
Yeah.
We found that out last night. We didn't know. So yeah, amazing. And but we talk to so many entrepreneurs that are just like her. That's kind of why
there's a lot.
Bring this to you today, that you've got to stop thinking like an employee and start having that entrepreneur mindset. Always take that employee hat off and throw it away. So, all right. Well, we hope you love this episode. Did you have anything else?
No, mindset, guys, mindset.
Yeah. And say your affirmations. Maybe we should do an episode on affirmations, but we're big on affirmations. That's all about entrepreneurship as well. I actually should throw this in. I have another entrepreneur friend who has a traditional business, brick and mortar, and she's constantly telling people she's broke. She's broke. She can't do this. And that's the word that keeps coming out of her mouth. Well, her subconscious brain is hearing that and keeping her broke. It's just bringing more brokenness to her because she's telling her brain she's broke. She's going to stay that way. And then if you believe in manifestation and putting it out into the world, what you want, if you keep telling the world you're broke, the world's going to keep giving you broke. And so mindset is huge. We should definitely talk about that.
Yeah, her subconscious is finding ways for her to be broke.
To stay broke.
Because the subconscious hears that and thinks, okay, this is what I got to do.
Yeah.
I got to make sure that you're broke.
Yeah. Because she's frustrated with the lack of clients and this and that. And I keep seeing new clients go into her place. I've been doing some events over at her place. And I keep reminding her when the client leaves, I say, oh, you got a new client. And it's always kind of turns to a negative of how she's still, but I'm still broke. And I actually had a hard conversation and I said, you've got to stop saying that. And she knew that. She's a smart woman. She knew right away. But it's funny how we need to be reminded. That's why good coaching is important too. So anyway, we hope this was helpful. We will do many more episodes on mindset. It's critical. You'll put yourself out or in business with the right mindset or the wrong mindset. So
business, anything you do, right? It doesn't have to be business, but it kind of encompasses everything. Like if you want to be good at any sport, but you have this defeatist kind of attitude toward it, you're never going to be good at it, right?
Right.
Think about one of the world's greatest golfers, right? Tiger Woods. Watch him in his interviews. If you look at all those old interviews, and it was something that really stood out to me. They would interview him, and he would just stink up the course one day, right? He was just having a bad day, and they would interview him, and he only talked about all the great shots he made. Never once said anything. And some of the interviewers that would say, yeah, you hit it into the rough over on 4. You hit that wayward tee shot. It was in the rough. It had a really bad lie. It was sitting down and this and that. And he would just turn around and say, yeah, I got the club on the ball, was able to advance it down the fairway.
He'd look for the good.
Got up and down, made par.
Yeah.
I played well today.
Love that.
And it's like, no, you didn't. I watched right? You did not play well. But it just really showed me, and it really hit home that he had the right mindset. He had the mindset of a winner. He had the mindset of a fighter. He had the mindset of a champion.
Yeah.
And I think he is arguably one of the greatest golfers. And I gotta be honest, I was never a big fan of his.
John wasn't.
Right? It was.
You weren't.
I don't know why. But he was great, and he was great. I think because of his mind. Obviously, he has a lot of skill.
Yeah.
But it was a lot to do with his mindset, and I think there are as golfers that have as much skill as Tiger did, but they didn't have his mindset.
Right.
And they're never going to have the records that he has.
Yeah, because of it.
Yeah.
So, all right. We'll leave you for today. Share this with a friend that you know could use some of this great information. Leave us a comment, subscribe. We would love that. We're so grateful that you're part of our community here at Dig the Well. Have an awesome, awesome day. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on Dig the Well.
We hope you feel empowered and ready to take on new challenges.
Remember, if we can do it, so can you. Keep learning, keep believing, and going after your dreams.
And if you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who needs a little inspiration or maybe a nudge in the right direction.
Help us grow this community of go-getters. Together, we can achieve greatness and get back to family.
Thanks for listening, and let's keep digging the well.